Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just want to go into a little flow. Might start off with some light language and kind of see where it leads with the guides. And I'm just asking, maybe in this particular message, what would be helpful for the collective right now? So as you tune into the frequency of the collective experience, we are being called to reorganize the scattered energies that the collective experience is projecting into the atmosphere, if you will, into the utmost sphere. And we have spoken about this before because it is a topic that is coming up time and time again before this particular message, even in this now moment. For fear is being projected as it holds a certain alchemization. It is an alchemy button, one might say. It pushes our buttons in order to alchemize certain situations and create a dominating force or a dominating flow of energy, of perceived patterns that changes our perception about what it is that we are looking at. And so we are being called to utilize the potential energy flow and recognize when we are being caught up in this framework. And we use framework as a play on words, as a reference to a frame, something that holds something that holds a picture frame, but also I'm seeing frames on like a movie. And we are watching, if you will, a movie unravel. For part of this movie or moving picture or representation of the pictures that we are watching move around in front of us are moving. We are no longer in alliance or in agreement with what it is that we were watching. And as spectators of this grand design, we are recognizing that we no longer wish to play in the same tactical way, if you will. We no longer wish to observe these types of programs being played out in the collective atmosphere. So this means we must change our own directive around the collective thinking and become the directors of our own movement, of our own way of thinking. And this creates a wave that changes the thinking of the collective. And this particular recognition allows us to increase our bandwidth. It allows us to increase the fluidity in which we are able to access our multidimensionality. It enables us to step out of the role of the enabler and change and move into the role of the destabler. And this is a play on words. For as we destabilize the old frequencies, we step away from those that are seeking to destabilize us. And we are not in this particular message trying to create a flow of us versus them. We are merely trying to show what the story has been that is creating the stoppage, if you will, or the leak in energy, or the pattern. I'm being shown like stopping the flow, right? Or creating a pattern that is leading us into a particular reality. And so we are being invited to become the directors of our own reality and direct our information and therefore our energy, or our energetic confirmation key, if you will, that allows us to open the next door, that allows us to access more, that allows us to access more doors or corridors of our own inner perception and awareness, that then allows the mobility, if you will, and access to fractality, to recognize the house of mirrors and that which it is that is being reflected back to us in our reality that no longer is part of our sustainability. So we are no longer choosing to sustain these old projections, if you will. Yet many of us have lost sight. This is like reference to the third eye and inner sight. in order to create the projections moving forward that offer a broader picture, or that which it is that we seek to picture, that we seek to create, that we are able to picture. For many of us are so used to tuning into these old creations that we are creating pictures based on these old distortions. So I'm being called to stop and play with this for a moment. I'm being shown that it's like when you watch a movie before you go to bed, and then you have dreams, and of course whatever you're dreaming about is partly because of the movie that you watched before you went to bed. And the guides keep telling me that we're dreaming in our reality into being. So, and this is not new news, this is just what's been really kind of honed in on lately in all the messages that I've been receiving. So this play on words is about us directing our own play and recognizing that the pictures that we're moving into have been in someone else's creation time and time again. And it's not about taking our power back per se. It's recognizing that we've been using our power in order to power up these moving pictures, and to come back into stillness and oneness in order to move forward, and to regain our ability to picture, visualize, and use our imagination in order to co-create together that which it is we are looking to move into. And some of us have lost the ability to picture that. Like, can we see that? What we're projecting is sometimes based on a structure that we're used to, and I'm being shown a box, right? We're used to looking at, we're used to operating from within. I'm seeing an old, how they used to film old pictures, like old black and white, like there's a film, right? We're using an old system. And so we have this ability now to create in a much broader way, yet what I keep hearing is we've forgotten how to play. It's kind of like Peter Pan a little bit. So we're going to play with that. I think I did a Peter Pan flow. Oh, I wrote it down. I'll have to share that. There's a whole thing on Peter Pan I just typed up the other day that I wrote like last year. So I'll share that in just a moment. And I'll kind of play with that right now. So as we allow this flow of multidimensionality to spread out, as we spread out our energy, yet we do it from a center of vocalized folklore, being shown like playfulness and creativity. It allows us to expand out in a much broader variation and variety of alchemy and playfulness. So I'm seeing like individuality in unity. And we do this by shifting to the heart and allowing ourselves to get into the center and then move out from there, rather than focusing on all of the other programs, right, that are pulling us in multiple directions. And so even though we wish to be multiple, I'm hearing multitaskers. What exactly is the task that we are focusing on? For as we attempt to finalize certain tasks that have been on our agenda, we are being invited to recognize whose agenda are we checking off? Who is it? What is it? What energetic frequency or signature is it that we are signing off on, or signing into, so to speak, or syncing up with? And so we are being invited to get out of the thinking box, so to speak, and get into the imagination and utilize that to bring us back into the frequency of fun, the frequency of playfulness, the frequency of I'm hearing girls just want to have fun. So music, dance. Now, this is important in order to create a focus from the heart movement. This allows us to think more clearly. For if we are not utilizing all parts of our anatomy, our brain, our body, our senses, we are giving ourselves the short end of the stick. we are not necessarily allowing ourselves to open to the full range of our focal talents. We are merely accessing a small portion of that which we feel is portioned out to us. We are not necessarily utilizing all of our components. And so this creates a sense of compartmentalization and puts us back into the mentalization, the mental picture that does not allow us to move with as much fluidity. We do not hold the spark as fluidly as one may hold once they have felt that inner fold, that inner joy, that inner space within that allows for the combustion to to fire up the motor that allows us to work with a higher horsepower, a higher frequency. I'm hearing, what is that song? Motor. I heard the song. Na, na. I always forget the lyrics though. I hear it all the time. Still haven't looked it up. Na, 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 na. Okay. We are bringing this up over and over again because we forget. And I'm hearing reference back to Peter Pan. We have forgotten how to play. We have forgotten how to get out of our own way. And we have been motorized, if you will, or we have been lulled into slumber. We have been lulled into a programming that we are motoring unconsciously, subconsciously. And this is starting to become dull. It is starting to dull the senses, and many of you are feeling it. Many people out there are looking at the world around them saying, is this it? And sorry, I'm hearing a reference to Flight of the Conchords. Oh yeah, that's it. Anyways, if you haven't seen that show, I highly recommend it. It's old. And so we are being invited to play with toys, coloring books, rocks, marbles, basic things that seem so mundane. Get out the paints. And many of you have not done this in quite some time, or many of you are doing it perhaps with your children, but not even feeling the crayons underneath your fingertips. We must gather our senses in order to gather our energy, in order to refresh our memory, in order to reorganize. I'm hearing our gentry, and this is a play on words. So that's our gene tree. And there's something having to do with that I'm being called to look up. Okay, so that's a play on words about nobility, our kindness, our gentleness, being kind to each other, acting from a noble character. And I'm hearing our nobility, our ability to know more, our ability to behave. And that's a play on words, to have and to be present in a state of grace. And we need this in order to create a place of higher nobility. And this is a play on words having to do with the noble gases and creation from these elements, because we're creating, I'm being shown how when we breathe out, when we say words, we're expelling a frequency, and that's all a play on words, right? So we're sending out an energy. We're expelling a gaseous substance, right? CO2 or whatever it is, right? Carbon. Well, carbon-based, oh my goodness, I'm going into such a state of flow right now. So bottom line is, or top of the line, top of the morning to you. Top of the line is it increases our gentry, our gene tree. It expands out our branches. It makes us more accessible to ourselves, to our true heritage, to our true tree of life and genetic DNA that many of us can't access because we've forgotten how to play. And a lot of people are saying, well, how can I play when there's so much suffering? Or I don't have time. And these are all beliefs, because there are people that are suffering more than we are from one perspective that still have time to play with rocks and stones and sticks. And these children, for example, are still laughing somehow. And here we are having all kinds of wonderful things at our fingertips, and we feel what I'm hearing is bereft. Something's missing. Well, the thing that's missing is we're not taking our time to really let go and just get back to the basics of humanity, of being in a place of gratitude, of being in a place of feeling valuable, of valuing one another. And I'm getting back to gentry, like gentle, being gentle with ourselves, kid gloves, being kids. There's more to this. Having a relationship, and I'm hearing gentle birth. So birth to me is creating and being gentle in what it is that we're birthing, so that we can feel sensitive from our hearts. And there's just something so important about this right now, you guys, because if we keep hardening our hearts, we lose touch with what's real, and we become completely absorbed in what is being projected. And I'm being called back to moving pictures. I don't know if this was this recording or last recording. I'm kind of weaving them in and out. So we end on this note. And this is a shorter message than some, because we invite you to stop watching this video when it's complete. We invite you to turn off the television. We invite you to shut down your phone for a bit and pull out your pencils, your writing pads, your coloring books, your paints, perhaps a guitar or a piano or a musical instrument, perhaps taking off your shoes and socks and dipping your feet in the rocks, the water, the sand, the rivers, the grass. We invite you to let yourself be free of all attachments to anything other than the reality of truth, which is Mother Nature, which is the fact that you are here on earth in your body. And all of the social media, play on words, I'm going to come back to that we feel attached to, that has its tentacles interwoven deeply within us, and we much appreciate in gratitude, we can also say thank you. And as I unplug temporarily, I tune into the more temporal, the more relevant frequencies of gentle dissolve. I'm able to dissolve from the energetic components that are electrically stimulating me and over sensitizing me to desensitivity. That's play on words. That are oversensitizing me to stimuli that are outside of my own present reality, that which is the plants, the animals, the children, the earth elements in this now moment, the air that I breathe. And taking that time to center ourselves allows us to move away from the self-centered arena that many of us are being called to look at as spectators, not recognizing that we are the gladiators in the ring, that we are the ones that are doing the interacting, the spectating, and the fighting for the attention of so on and so forth. Meaning, the fractured energy that's all around us that has stories and programs constantly being thrown at us, that we are deflecting and focusing on and moving away from and in and out of, in a constant state of absorption. For that which it is we tune into, we absorb, whether we consciously realize it or not. And the more information that we absorb that is not necessarily relevant to our own human expansion creates more distortions in our field and in our awareness, creating a lack of ability of perception, lack of ability to perceive, lack of awareness of our own individual path, journey, experience, feelings, sensations, emotions, and so on and so forth. We think as we tune into these tunes, we are learning, we are expanding. And while we expand our knowledge, what is it that we are really expanding our knowledge about? What is it that we are really finding important for our own self-awareness? For as we become aware of other things, that pulls us outside into those things and outside of ourselves from one perspective and into the center of that. And so we are invited to come back to the truth, which is not there, not that, but in here with that. Lots of definitions on that. Like I'm just seeing like the inner awareness, like the flower, right? The center, the nectar. And we are not, all of that stimuli is taking us away from our own stimulation, our own ability to feel stimulated by the little things in a positive way. We're so overstimulated that we can't find the nectar and the joy of how good it feels to lay in the sun and put our feet on the earth. How good it really can feel to just lay in water. And I'm being shown that's why some of the things that are coming up are so powerful. The cold plunge. This is why so many people are really taking to the cold plunge, because it's making them change in an instant and wake up, get their senses activated, or even like a sauna, detox and get it out, right? These certain things are being utilized and people love them, and they're not even recognizing that what it's doing is it's breaking a pattern, which is good. So even doing something like that, of course, recognizing, if you have heart issues, be aware of some of these things that are trendy, just make sure you're paying attention and tuning in. Again, being able to sense what's going on in your body, not doing something because someone else is doing it or because it's a trend, but do it because it feels good for you. And how can we know what feels good for us if we are unable to feel because we're so overly stimulated by things that are outside of us? Programming, the stories. I've got to know what's going on over here. What is that person doing? And that's just, it's easier for us to do that sometimes because we're so habitual in it. It's just breaking that cycle. And so I'm just being called to end on that note. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment. And in love and light, guys, namaste.